Good morning, everybody. I know that you're getting together at lunch today. Unfortunately, I moved my Thursday teaching to today, so I cannot join you. But while doing research last night, I came across 3 or 4 points that I wanted to share with you that I think would be useful, at least for some of the responses of the 4 questions that you need to answer. So I'm using first a source in Maimonides, which I've already shared with you, but yesterday at the end of the session you were talking about, I think it was the second question, with regard to consumer responsibilities. And Maimonides, in the Laws of Theft, in chapter 5, halacha 1, discusses this in terms of a stolen article, buying a stolen article from a thief, and Maimonides calls this a severe sin, for it reinforces the transgressor and motivates him to steal in the future. So if he wouldn't find a person to sell it to, it would discourage him from stealing. This, of course, can be used even though we maintain that there's no tsar ba'alei chayim. However, to answer the question, you could argue that the consumer has a responsibility. That's one of the 3 points. Then, the second. There is a rabbi whose name is Dr. Ronen Luvitz, and this article was published in Israel on the 14th of February 2015. And it's a response to a very controversial and provocative article by a man whose name is Asa Keisar, who wrote an article titled Shomer Kashrut, Sholchel Basar, and Davar Kazeh. There's no such thing as considering food kosher if you're eating meat. So he argues as follows. I am convinced that you cannot define eating meat as forbidden. That's a strong statement. Even though we have a halacha that tsar ba'alei chayim is from the Torah, mideoraita, it's a Torah law as opposed to a rabbinic law. However, you might argue that it has to minimize the pain to the animal, but if it is done for human need, then there is no prohibition against it. This is, of course, mentioned in the sources, and he cites some of the sources that are in your list, namely the Ramah, that says that even though there's real pain to an animal, it is allowed, for example, taking a feather from a living goose in order to be used as a quill. This is permitted, and he quotes the Trumat Hadeshen, etc. Then he speaks about a real need for people, as long as it's for benefit, leto'elet shel bnei adam. If it's for the benefit of man, it is permitted. He even cites a case where one should use other than animals for experiments for medication. However, if there is no other way to do the research, then he doesn't say mutar, it's permitted. He says yesh la'asot ken, one ought to do so. Then we go to the Rav Moshe Feinstein article, who clearly says that while there is real cruelty, en isur bazeh, there is no prohibition to raise animals industrially. Then a very, very interesting twist on the matter. He says, ha'omnam tsar, is there real pain to an animal? So he says, I'd like to take this entire response from a different perspective, and that is that when we say pain, we internalize it like we have human pain, and he argues that there isn't. Animals don't suffer the same kind of pain that we are attempting to internalize, that we have the same kind of pain or not. So he, on these bases, he argues that it is permitted to raise industrial meat. Then there is a second response from the Rabbi Yaakov Ariel, the Rabbi of Ramat Gan, and he says we should minimize the pain. However, we are allowed to consume meat, and there is a need for it for human beings, not because they want to increase prices or make more profit, but eggs and milk is healthy for the consumer. And he cites the Trumat Hadeshen case, and he quotes, Lo nivreu habriot, animals were only created, rak l'shamesh et ha'adam, only to serve the needs of man. So it serves his health and good health, and it wasn't designed for increasing profitability. Again, he cites historically people raised animals and ate from their own animal. Today, there are so many people in the world that one has to raise food industrially in order to serve the needs of people, and therefore he too permits it. So here are two articles. Both are dated 2015. This second article is by Koshitsky in a newspaper called Makor Rishon, First Source. I hope this is of benefit to you, and I wish you a wonderful session. I'm really sorry that I cannot be there today. Shabbat Shalom.